My husband's affair partner turned out to be the youth pastor's wife from our church. The way I exposed them during Sunday service with video evidence made national news. My name is Nadine, I'm 34, and let me back up to explain how I went from being the church's most devoted volunteer to the woman who live-streamed an affair confession to 2,400 congregants and somehow ended up on CNN. 3 years ago, I made what everyone called the ultimate sacrifice for my marriage. My husband Terrence's mother, Miss Gloria, had a massive stroke that left her partially paralyzed and needing round-the-clock care. The nursing facilities we could afford were nightmares, understaffed, smelling like decay and neglect. Terrence was her only child, and watching him cry in that hospital waiting room broke something in me. So I quit my job as a medical billing specialist. We moved Miss Gloria into our guest bedroom, and I became her full-time caregiver. Bath time, medication schedules, physical therapy exercises, pureed meals when she couldn't swallow solid food. I loved that woman like she was my own mother, but caregiving is brutal work that nobody prepares you for, the kind that makes you cry in the shower because it's the only place you can break down in private. Terrence kept his job as an IT contractor, which meant he traveled twice a month for client meetings. I didn't mind. Someone had to maintain our income, and honestly, those solo weeks gave me time to just breathe. Between caring for Miss Gloria and managing our household, I barely had energy left for myself. But here's what made it worse. We were also drowning in Terrence's old business debt. 5 years ago, he tried launching a tech startup that crashed spectacularly, leaving us with $87,000 in debt. I took on weekend medical transcription work, typing until 2 a.m. while Miss Gloria slept, just to make extra payments. I wanted us free of that burden before we tried for the baby we'd been planning since our wedding. Our church, Covenant Grace Fellowship, became my sanctuary during this time. I volunteered everywhere: sound booth, hospitality team, vacation Bible school coordinator. Pastor Raymond and his wife Felicia treated me like family. Their son, the youth pastor named Darius, was this charismatic 29-year-old everyone adored. He'd married his college sweetheart, Simone, 2 years prior, and they were the church's golden couple, leading worship, organizing mission trips, counseling engaged couples. Simone was stunning in that effortless way some women are. Tall, athletic build from her college volleyball days, always dressed modestly but stylishly. She taught the women's Bible study I attended every Thursday night and had this gentle way of making everyone feel heard. I considered her a friend, maybe even a mentor. Terrence and I had been married 6 years at this point. We'd met at a tech conference where I was working registration, and he swept me off my feet with grand plans and bigger promises. He was ambitious, funny, attentive. Everyone said we were perfect together. I believed them. I believed him when he said the business failure wasn't his fault. I believed him when he promised we'd recover. I believed him when taking care of his mother together would make us stronger. I believed every "I love you" he texted from those business trips. What I didn't know was that for the past 11 months, while I was changing his mother's bed sheets and sacrificing my career, Terrence had been having an affair with Simone. In hotels during his business trips, in our house on Thursdays when I was at Bible study, even once in the church media room after a Sunday service. The woman I trusted, the man I'd given everything for, the church that was supposed to be our spiritual home. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The discovery came on a Tuesday afternoon in late September, the kind of day where the heat still clings even though fall is supposed to be arriving. Miss Gloria was napping, and I was doing laundry, folding Terrence's work clothes, separating darks from lights like I'd done 1,000 times before. His iPad was charging on our dresser. It pinged with a notification. That's where everything started falling apart. The notification was from iMessage. The preview said, "Can't wait to taste you again tomorrow. Same hotel." The contact name was saved as Derek, IT client. My hands went numb. I stood there, holding one of Terrence's polo shirts, staring at that screen like it might rearrange itself into something that made sense. Derek, IT client. We didn't know any Derek. I picked up the iPad with shaking fingers. No passcode. He'd never thought he needed one at home. Why would he? His devoted wife was too busy caring for his paralyzed mother to snoop through his devices. I opened the message thread. The messages went back 11 months, November of last year, right after Thanksgiving. Photos that made my stomach turn. Videos I had to pause because I couldn't breathe. Voice messages where I heard her laugh. That same gentle laugh from Bible study, except this time it was breathy and intimate and wrong. But it wasn't until I scrolled up further that I saw her real name slip through. She'd sent Simone in a message about her real phone being broken, explaining why she was texting from this burner number saved as Derek. Simone. I sat down on our bedroom floor, still holding that iPad, and something cold settled into my chest. Not the hot rage you see in movies, not tears or screaming, just this crystalline clarity that comes when your entire reality shatters and rebuilds itself into a sharper, crueler shape. The messages were detailed, specific. She complained about Darius being too vanilla in bed. Terrence joked about me being too tired from playing nurse to notice anything. They made plans around my Bible study schedule. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., like clockwork. They'd been using our guest bathroom, the one down the hall from where Miss Gloria slept, completely unaware her son was defiling our home. There were messages about close calls. Once, I'd come home early from Bible study because Simone had canceled it. Food poisoning, she'd said. I'd found Terrence on the couch watching TV, hair slightly wet like he just showered. Felt gross from the gym, he'd explained. I'd kissed his forehead and gone to check on Miss Gloria. According to the messages, Simone had been hiding in our bedroom closet for 20 minutes. I should have confronted him right then, packed his things, called Darius's husband, exposed them both, and burned their lives down immediately. But I didn't.
Because as I sat there reading message after message, I realized something. They thought they were untouchable. They thought I was too naive, too devoted, too exhausted to ever discover the truth. Terrence's messages dripped with arrogance. Simone's responses showed zero guilt, only excitement and planning. They'd made a fool of me for almost a year. If I confronted them now, privately, they'd just apologize and cry and beg. They'd make it about their weakness, their moment of sin, their desperate plea for forgiveness. The church would counsel us toward reconciliation. I'd be pressured to be the good Christian wife who forgives and rebuilds. No, I wanted them destroyed, publicly, completely. I wanted everyone who'd watched me sacrifice everything to see exactly who they really were. So I took screenshots, hundreds of them, every message, every photo, every video. I airdropped them to my phone, then my laptop, then a flash drive I bought that same afternoon while Miss Gloria was still napping. I created a secret email account and sent everything there too. Then I put the iPad back exactly where I'd found it and went to start dinner. When Terrence came home that evening, I kissed him like I always did, asked about his day, served him pot roast with roasted vegetables. We ate dinner watching Jeopardy while Miss Gloria dozed in her recliner. He seemed happy, he said, smiling at me. Just grateful, I replied. Grateful for everything we have. He squeezed my hand. I love you, Nadine. I know you do, I said. That night, while he slept beside me, I lay awake planning. I couldn't just expose them anywhere. It had to be strategic. It had to hurt exactly as much as they'd hurt me. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the perfect wife. I asked about his upcoming business trip, the one scheduled for October 12th that was actually a hotel rendezvous with Simone. I attended Bible study every Thursday, sitting across from her, watching her teach about faithfulness and godly marriage while I knew exactly what she'd been doing 2 hours earlier. She hugged me once after class. You're such an inspiration, Nadine. The way you've sacrificed for your family, that's real love. I hugged her back. Thank you, Simone. That means so much coming from you. I kept monitoring his iPad. The messages continued, bolder now, more detailed. They were planning something big, a weekend trip in November, supposedly overlapping with his Chicago client meeting and her women's conference in Atlanta. They'd actually booked a cabin in the Smoky Mountains. But the message that gave me my perfect opportunity came on October 3rd. Simone texted, Darius wants us to share our testimony during the marriage conference next month, how we keep our relationship strong. LOL, if only they knew. Terrence replied, That's hilarious. You gonna talk about how I keep you satisfied while he bores you to death? The church's annual marriage conference, November 8th, a Sunday evening service where married couples shared testimonies about overcoming challenges, strengthening faith, and building godly marriages. I checked the church calendar. Darius and Simone were scheduled to speak, second slot right after the worship set. Perfect. I had 5 weeks to plan everything. I became meticulous, calculated. Every move was chess, not checkers. First, I needed more evidence.
Screenshots were damning, but I needed something undeniable, something they couldn't talk their way out of, or claim was fabricated or taken out of context. I bought a tiny camera online, one of those nanny cams disguised as a phone charger. Cost me $64.99. I plugged it into the outlet in our guest bathroom, angled perfectly toward the shower, the bathroom they'd been using because it was furthest from Miss Gloria's room. Thursday, October 9th, I went to Bible study like always. Simone taught about resisting temptation, about how Satan prowls looking for weak moments. I took notes, I smiled, I volunteered to bring refreshments next week. I came home at 9:47 p.m. Terrence was on the couch, watching a basketball game, hair damp, fresh clothes. "Good study?" he asked. "Really powerful," I said. Simone is such an amazing teacher. The camera had captured everything, 42 minutes of footage. I watched it once, bile rising in my throat, then saved 3 copies to different locations. I never watched it again. But that wasn't enough. I needed them confident, arrogant. I needed them to believe they were invincible right before I pulled the rug out. So I played into it. I started acting more exhausted, more defeated. I'd sigh heavily when doing Miss Gloria's care routine. I'd mention how tired I was, how I couldn't remember the last time Terrence and I had been intimate, how caregiving had drained everything from me. "You're doing too much," Terrence said one evening, rubbing my shoulders with those same hands that had been all over Simone. "Maybe we should look into part-time help for Mom." "We can't afford it," I said, leaning into his touch. "Not with the debt payments." "I'm fine, really. This is what marriage is about, right? Sacrifice?" He kissed the top of my head. "You're incredible. I don't deserve you." "No," I agreed quietly. "You really don't." The messages between him and Simone grew bolder. They started getting sloppy. She called him once from her real number, quickly hung up and texted an excuse, but it was in the call log. He saved hotel receipts in his laptop bag. They stopped being careful because they genuinely believed I was too broken down to notice anything beyond my caregiver duties. October 20th, Simone asked if I wanted to help her prepare for the marriage conference testimony. We met at a coffee shop. "Darius and I want to be really vulnerable," she said, stirring her latte. "Talk about the hard seasons. You know, when you feel disconnected from your spouse." "That's brave," I said. "Have you and Terrence ever struggled like that?" I looked her dead in the eye. "Every marriage has its challenges, but we always find our way back to each other." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You're stronger than you know, Nadine." I squeezed back. "So are you, Simone. So are you." I started volunteering for the marriage conference planning committee, offered to help with sound setup, video equipment, anything technical. Pastor Raymond was thrilled. They always struggled with the media team. "We want a live stream this year," he said during a planning meeting. "Reach couples who couldn't make it in person." "I can handle that," I volunteered. "I've picked up some technical skills helping Terrence with his work." It was almost too easy. November 1st, 1 week before the conference, things escalated. I overheard Miss Gloria talking to Terrence in her room. Her speech had been improving with therapy, though it was still slurred. "Something wrong," she said. "Nadine, sad." "She's just tired, Mom. Taking care of you is a lot." "No, different. Her eyes, empty." My mother-in-law, partially paralyzed and struggling to form sentences, could see what her son refused to acknowledge, that the woman caring for her with tenderness and patience was dying inside. I stood outside the door, listening. "She loves you," Miss Gloria continued. "Don't lose her." "I won't, Mom. I promise." That night, I cried for the first time since finding the iPad. Not because of his empty promise. I was long past believing anything he said. I cried because Miss Gloria deserved better than this. She'd raised a son who could betray the woman sacrificing everything for his family. But I was too far in now. The plan was set. November 6th, 2 days before the conference, Simone texted the group chat for women's ministry leaders. "So excited to share our testimony Sunday, praying it encourages marriages in our church family. Heart." I replied, "Can't wait. You and Darius are such an inspiration." That same evening, Terrence's business trip to Chicago was confirmed for the following weekend, the same weekend as Simone's fake women's conference. Their Smoky Mountains cabin was booked under his name. They'd even planned their alibi stories, coordinating every detail in their messages. I had compiled everything into a single video file. screenshots with timestamps, the bathroom camera footage with date stamps visible, hotel receipts matched to calendar dates when he claimed to be at client meetings, photos of them together, some intimate, some just casual, proving this wasn't a one-time mistake, but a sustained relationship. The video was 19 minutes long. I'd edited it myself using YouTube tutorials, adding text overlays for context, blurring out the most explicit parts, but leaving enough to make the affair undeniable. I'd set it to upload automatically to the church's live stream at exactly 6:47 p.m. on November 8th, 3 minutes after Simone and Darius began their testimony. I tested the live stream system 3 times. Pastor Raymond praised my technical skills. November 7th, the night before, Terrence took me to dinner. A nice restaurant downtown, the kind we couldn't really afford, but he occasionally splurged on. "I know I've been distant lately," he said over wine. "Work has been crazy, but I want you to know how much I appreciate everything you do. For Mom, for us, for our future." "Our future," I repeated. "Yeah. Once we get the debt cleared, once Mom's more stable, we can start trying for that baby, build the family we've always wanted." "A baby? With him? After everything?" I smiled, reached across the table, held his hand. "That sounds perfect," I said. He smiled back, relieved. Probably thought this dinner had fixed whatever distance he'd sensed growing between us. We went home. He fell asleep easily, one arm draped over me like always. I lay awake until 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, going over every detail one final time. Tomorrow, everyone would know the truth. Tomorrow, the sacrifice I'd made would be honored by the destruction of the people who'd exploited it. Tomorrow, Covenant Grace Fellowship would witness what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. I fell asleep around 4 a.m. with a smile on my face.
Sunday, November 8th. The marriage conference started at 6 p.m. I woke up that morning and made Terrence his favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with turkey sausage. Miss Gloria was having a good day, smiling and chatting in her improved speech about how nice I looked in my navy dress. "Beautiful," she said, patting my hand. "Always beautiful." "Thank you, Miss Gloria," I said, kissing her forehead. "Today's going to be a special day." Terrence left for the gym around 10 a.m. I used that time to do one final check of everything. The video file was queued, the live stream settings were configured, my 3 backup copies were secured. I'd even printed physical copies of the most damning screenshots and tucked them in my purse, just in case technology failed me. I took a long shower, did my makeup carefully, wore the dress Terrence had bought me for our 5th anniversary, the one he said made me look angelic. I straightened my hair, put on the pearl earrings his mother had given me as a wedding gift. If I was going to burn their lives down, I was going to look immaculate doing it. We arrived at church at 5:30 p.m. The sanctuary was already filling up. At least 400 couples had registered for the conference. The energy was warm, expectant. People hugged, laughed, found their seats. I saw Simone and Darius near the front, greeting attendees. She wore a cream-colored dress, modest and elegant. He had his arm around her waist, the picture of a devoted husband. "I'll help set up the media booth," I told Terrence. "Save us seats?" "You sure? You've been working so hard on this." "I want everything to be perfect," I said. He kissed my cheek. "You're amazing." I went to the media booth in the back, a raised platform with soundboard, lighting controls, and the live stream computer. 2 other volunteers were there, but I'd arranged to handle the stream solo. "I've got this," I told them. "Y'all enjoy the service with your spouses." They thanked me and left. I was alone with the controls, alone with my plan, alone with the truth that was about to detonate. The service started at 6 p.m. sharp. Worship team led 3 songs about covenant love and faithfulness. Pastor Raymond gave open remarks about the sanctity of marriage. I watched from the booth as Terrence sang along, eyes closed, hands raised. Simone and Darius sat in the front row, holding hands. The live stream counter showed 1,847 viewers. People were watching from home, from other states, from hotel rooms where they couldn't attend in person. By the time this was over, that number would be much higher. At 6:38 p.m., Pastor Raymond called Simone and Darius to the stage. "We're blessed tonight to hear from 2 people who exemplify godly marriage," he said.
Darius has served as our youth pastor for 4 years, and his wife Simone leads our women's ministry with grace and wisdom. Please welcome them as they share their testimony. The sanctuary erupted in applause, 2,400 people cheering for the golden couple. I checked the video file one more time, cued at exactly 6:47 p.m., 9 minutes from now. Darius took the microphone first, talked about meeting Simone in college, knowing immediately she was the one, talked about building their ministry together, about supporting each other through challenges. His voice was smooth, practiced, youth pastor charisma.
Marriage isn't always easy, he said. There are seasons where you feel disconnected, where temptation creeps in, where you have to actively choose your spouse every single day. People nodded, murmured agreement. Simone took the mic next, talked about submission and respect, about praying through difficult moments, about how their marriage was stronger because they'd faced trials together. I see so many beautiful marriages in this room, she said, gesturing to the congregation. Sisters like Nadine, who sacrifice so much for their families. She inspires me daily with her devotion to her husband and mother-in-law. Every head turned to look at me in the media booth. Terrence beamed, blowing me a kiss. People smiled, some wiping tears. Simone continued, "That kind of love, that selfless, Christ-like love, is what we should all aspire to. It's what keeps marriages strong when the world tries to tear them apart." 6:46 p.m. My hand hovered over the mouse. "So I want to encourage everyone here," Simone said, voice thick with emotion. "Guard your marriage. Protect it. Don't let anything..." 6:47 p.m. I clicked. The main sanctuary screen, a massive 30-foot display behind the stage, went black for 2 seconds. Then my face appeared, a selfie video I'd recorded the night before. "Hi everyone," my recorded voice said through the sanctuary speakers. "My name is Nadine, and I need to show you something about the people currently on stage." Simone froze mid-sentence. Darius turned to look at the screen, confused. The video cut to screenshots, text messages, timestamps, hotel receipts. For the past 11 months, while I've been caring for my husband's paralyzed mother and working extra jobs to pay off his business debt, he's been having an affair. Gasps rippled through the sanctuary. Terrence stood up from his seat, face going white. The woman he's been sleeping with is Simone Marshall, the woman currently on stage telling you about godly marriage. More screenshots appeared. Messages about Thursday Bible study schedules, photos of them together. Nothing explicit yet, but damning enough. Simone's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Darius grabbed her arm, staring at the screen in horror. "They've been using my house, the one where I care for my disabled mother-in-law. They've been using church facilities. They planned their encounters around my volunteer schedule." The video showed calendar overlaps. His business trips matched to hotel bookings in cities he never visited. Her women's conference this coming weekend was actually a cabin rental in both their names. People were shouting now, some crying, parents covering their children's eyes and rushing them out. Then the bathroom footage started playing. I'd blurred the explicit parts, but it was unmistakably them. Date stamp visible, October 9th. The same night Simone had taught us about resisting temptation. Darius lunged toward the media booth. "Turn it off! Turn it off!" But I'd locked the controls. The video would play all 19 minutes, and there was nothing anyone could do. Terrence was running up the center aisle now, pushing past people, screaming my name. "Nadine, stop this!" Security tried to intercept him. Pastor Raymond was on stage, frantically gesturing to cut the power, but the live stream was running on a separate circuit. The viewer count hit 4,200. Simone collapsed on the stage, sobbing. Darius was screaming at her, veins bulging in his neck. "How could you? In our church!" My recorded voice continued calmly over the chaos. "I'm showing you this because these two people built their reputations on my suffering. While I sacrificed everything, they betrayed everyone who trusted them. They deserve to be exposed exactly where they committed their sins, in front of this congregation." More footage, more messages. The one about her hiding in my closet when I came home early, the jokes about me being too tired to satisfy my husband. Terrence finally reached the media booth, pounded on the locked door. "Open this! Nadine, please!" I opened the door. He burst in, wild-eyed, grabbing my shoulders. "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
telling the truth," I said quietly. "You're destroying us! You're destroying the church!" "No, Terrence, you did that 11 months ago." He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time, not the devoted wife, not the exhausted caregiver, the woman who'd been 10 steps ahead of him for 5 weeks. On screen, the video was showing their planned Smoky Mountains trip, receipts, booking confirmations under fake names, messages about what they'd do during their romantic getaway while lying to their spouses. Pastor Raymond had finally killed the main screen, but the damage was done. The live stream was still running, now at 6,891 viewers. People were recording on their phones, uploading clips. This was already spreading beyond the church. Simone was being dragged off stage by 2 deacons. Darius was hyperventilating, surrounded by shocked church members. Some were yelling, some were crying, some were just staring in stunned silence. "Please," Terrence begged, tears streaming down his face. "Please turn it off. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll do anything." "Anything?" I pulled away from him. "Like you did anything to honor our marriage vows? Like you did anything to protect your mother from the shame?" "I made a mistake. For 11 months?" My voice cracked for the first time. "While I bathed your mother? While I worked myself to exhaustion? While I sacrificed my career, my body, my mental health? You made a mistake for 11 months?" He reached for me again. I stepped back. "Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again." The video ended at exactly 7:06 p.m. My final message. To everyone watching, don't mistake kindness for weakness. Don't mistake sacrifice for stupidity. And don't ever think you can build a life on someone else's pain without consequences. The screen went black. The sanctuary was in absolute chaos. People were leaving in droves. Others were confronting Simone and Darius. Parents were demanding Darius be removed as youth pastor immediately. The church elders had formed a circle, arguing frantically. I walked out of the media booth, past Terrence, who was now crumpled on the floor sobbing, past the people who'd praised my devotion an hour ago, past the sanctuary that had been my refuge. I drove home alone. Miss Gloria was watching TV when I arrived. She took one look at my face. "You okay?" she asked. "I will be," I said. My phone was exploding with notifications, text messages, calls, Facebook messages. The live stream had been shared 3,000 plus times. Screenshots were trending on local Twitter. By Monday morning, it would hit national news. But that night, I just sat with Miss Gloria, holding her hand, watching Wheel of Fortune like nothing had happened. Because for the first time in 11 months, I could breathe.
It's been 2 years since that Sunday service. Let me tell you what happened in the aftermath, because the fallout was nuclear. That night, the video went viral. By Monday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from local news stations. By Tuesday, CNN picked it up. Wife exposes husband's affair with youth pastor's wife during live-streamed church service was trending nationwide. Good Morning America wanted an interview. The Today Show sent producers to my doorstep. I declined them all. I'd said everything I needed to say in that 19-minute video. Terrence moved out that Monday. Didn't even ask. Just packed his things while I was at a lawyer's office filing for divorce. He tried to take some of Miss Gloria's medical equipment. She told him, in her improving but still slurred speech, "Leave. Now. Ashamed. Of you." He left crying. It was the last time his mother spoke to him for 8 months. The divorce was finalized in 4 months, fastest I've ever heard of in our state. But our lawyer said with that level of public evidence and the fact that I'd sacrificed my career for his family, the judge was highly motivated to rule in my favor. I got the house. I got 70% of his retirement fund. I got his car because mine was falling apart. He got the debt, all $87,000 of it. Turns out judges don't look kindly on men who cheat while their wives care for their disabled mothers. Simone and Darius? Their marriage imploded within 2 weeks. He filed for divorce immediately, citing adultery and emotional trauma. She tried to claim I'd manipulated the footage, hired a lawyer to threaten defamation. That lasted exactly until my lawyer sent over the unedited bathroom camera footage with timestamps, metadata, and a list of IT experts ready to testify to its authenticity. She dropped the lawsuit.
Darius left the church entirely. Last I heard, he moved to Oregon and works at a Christian camp for troubled youth. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Simone tried to stay in town for about 6 months. Big mistake. She couldn't go to a grocery store with people recognizing her. Someone put up flyers at her gym with screenshots from the video. Her parents, who'd been prominent members of Covenant Grace for 20 years, left the church in shame and stopped speaking to her. She moved to Arizona last year, works remotely for some tech company. Her social media is locked down, but mutual acquaintances say she's seeing a therapist and trying to rebuild. I don't wish her well. I don't wish her ill. I just don't think about her anymore. Covenant Grace Fellowship nearly collapsed. Attendance dropped by 60% in the first 3 months. Families left in droves, some because they couldn't handle the scandal, some because they were angry the leadership had allowed it to happen, some because they felt betrayed by people they trusted. Pastor Raymond resigned 6 months later. The board hadn't forced him out, but he said he couldn't lead effectively anymore. His son's actions had destroyed his legacy. Last I heard, he and his wife Felicia do marriage counseling privately now, trying to help other couples avoid what their own son had done. The church hired a new senior pastor, a woman named Dr. Camille Hughes, who came in with zero tolerance for misconduct and a complete restructuring of accountability systems. They're slowly rebuilding. I still get updates from friends who stayed. I don't attend anymore. That building holds too many ghosts.
But here's what actually matters. What happened to me? 2 weeks after the video went viral, I got a message on LinkedIn from a woman named Patricia Eng. She was a VP at a major healthcare administration company and had seen the news coverage. Her message was short. "You handled that with more grace and strategy than most CEOs I know. Would you consider talking about a position at my company?" I took the call. She offered me a role as a project coordinator, managing teams, handling logistics, overseeing complex schedules. "You were running a full care operation solo while planning a multi-platform exposure campaign," she said. "That's the kind of strategic thinking we need." The salary was $73,000, more than I'd made before quitting to care for Miss Gloria. I started 3 months later, once Miss Gloria was stable enough for professional home care, which I could now afford. She transitioned to a beautiful facility with actual staffing and activities, just 15 minutes from my house. I visit 4 times a week. She's thriving there, doing physical therapy and painting classes and making friends. "Proud of you," she tells me every visit. "So proud." I was promoted 8 months into the job, then again last spring. I'm now a senior operations manager, making $94,000 a year. I lead a team of 12 people. I'm respected, valued, appreciated. The company even flew me to a conference in Seattle last fall, where I spoke on a panel about strategic crisis management. Someone in the audience asked if I'd ever managed a reputation crisis. I smiled. Once or twice. My personal life? That took longer to rebuild. I spent the first year in therapy, unpacking not just the affair, but the entire marriage, realizing how much I'd lost myself trying to be the perfect wife, how I'd equated my worth with how much I could sacrifice, how I'd been so busy playing a role that I forgot to have standards. I dated casually for a while, nothing serious, mostly just remembered what it felt like to be desired without feeling like I owed someone my entire existence in return. Then last November, exactly 1 year after the exposure, I met Leon at a work event. He's a software engineer for a healthcare tech company we partner with. Quiet, thoughtful, with this dry sense of humor that catches you off guard. We talked for 3 hours at the networking mixer about everything except work. Our first date was coffee, our second was a cooking class, our third was him meeting Miss Gloria because I'd learned my lesson about keeping important people in separate boxes. She adored him immediately. "Good, man," she said, patting his hand. "Good, for you." We've been together 14 months now. He knows everything. I showed him the news articles on our 4th date because I refused to build anything on secrets ever again. He listened, asked thoughtful questions, and then said, "That took courage and planning. I'm a little terrified of you, honestly." "Good," I'd replied. "You should be." We moved in together 6 months ago. He's patient with my trust issues, communicative when I spiral, consistent in ways Terrence never was. We're talking about marriage, but I'm not rushing. I spent 6 years in a marriage that was a performance.
This time, I'm only saying yes if it's real.
Financially, I'm thriving. The debt-free life is incredible. I bought a new car last year, paid cash. I'm saving for a down payment on a bigger house. I started an investment account. I even treated myself to a trip to Jamaica in January, my first real vacation in 8 years. My YouTube channel? Yeah, I started one. Not about the affair. I refuse to be defined by that forever. But I do content about caregiving, boundary setting, and rebuilding after betrayal. It's small, about 47,000 subscribers, but the comments are full of people saying I helped them find their courage. Someone asked me in a comment last month, "Do you regret how you exposed them? Do you wish you'd handled it privately?" I thought about it for a long time before responding. No, I wrote. They conducted their affair publicly, in my home, in our church, around people who trusted them. They made a fool of me in spaces I considered sacred. They earned a public reckoning. I only regret that I wasted 11 months of my life loving someone who never deserved it. The comment got 12,000 likes. As for Terrence, I've seen him exactly twice since the divorce. Once at a mediation hearing for some paperwork issue, once randomly at a Target 6 months ago. He was with a woman, younger, bubbly, holding his hand. He saw me, went pale, and practically ran to another aisle. I finished my shopping, unbothered. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he's still paying off that $87,000 debt. His IT contracting business never recovered. Clients Googled his name and found the scandal. He works help desk now at some corporate office, living in a studio apartment. Miss Gloria still won't speak to him. She sends his birthday cards back unopened. He lost family, she told me last month. His choice. People sometimes recognize me in public still. Not often, but occasionally. Usually women, usually with this look of understanding. "You're the woman from that church video," they'll say. "I am," I reply. "Good for you," they always say. "Good for you." And they're right. Because 2 years later, I'm not the woman who sacrificed everything for a man who gave nothing. I'm not the woman who stayed silent while being disrespected. I'm not the woman who believed kindness meant accepting cruelty. I'm the woman who planned the perfect revenge, executed it flawlessly, and walked away from the ashes to build something better. I'm the woman who protected herself when no one else would. I'm the woman who chose violence, strategic, righteous, devastating violence, and has no regrets. My name is Nadine. I'm 36 years old. I exposed my husband's affair with the youth pastor's wife during Sunday service with video evidence that made national news. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat.